There's craziness going on, man. Was filling in for Mark Davis this morning on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas, Fort Worth, of course. And uh, we talked about the Carmelo Anthony case. We talked about Graham Plattner. And then all of a sudden in the afternoon, the end of the day 3 of the trial of Carmelo Anthony, and Graham Plattner has these new revelations coming out in the afternoon, and they are bad, and they're getting worse, and they're not over with. Graham Plattner suddenly showed up on MS Now, aka MSNBC, what it used to be called, and it is not looking good for both of them. We are learning a lot about the defense and where they're going to go on the Carmelo Anthony murder trial of the murder of Austin Metcalf. And what really happened is that Carmelo Anthony played a big man's game. And some of the things we're going to learn about some of the things he said is this childlike mentality, but playing a big man's game of killing somebody. Also, we learn stunning facts about the timeline. We learn stunning and horrifying facts about how he was murdered and what it was like to be a teacher trying to save Austin Metcalf's life, what it looked like when they came upon him writhing and dying. It's bad. The timeline of literally how many minutes Austin Metcalf, between when he walked into Daryl Kuykendall Stadium, if I'm pronouncing that right, in Frisco ISD, in Frisco, Texas, how many minutes between when he walked in there and before he was stabbed to death? How many minutes? It's such a short amount of time. We're also hearing for the first time horrors of teachers and coaches who are combat veterans trying to save his life. We're hearing about his coach who pushed Austin Metcalf to be a leader, to protect that tent and to step up. And now I can only imagine that the coach might have a guilt complex for what he did, but he, of course, did nothing wrong. All that and so much more. You're going to hear a brand new piece of video and audio from Graham Plattner defending himself in his gravelly voice. It's looking really bad for that. He's not going to make it. But I think he might hang on with his pride, but he already looks defeated tonight. And then, Wylie ISD. Forgive me for not starting with this first. It's a big news day. Well is what I tweeted out when we see that one of the 6 assistant principals at Wylie East High School in Wylie ISD in Wylie, Texas, suburban Dallas, Fort Worth. When we see the school that allowed professional Islamic proselytizers to go in and pass out 4 adult professional Islamic proselytizers to set up an Islam booth in the middle of a school day in Wylie East High School to allow them to pass out Qurans with Shahada cards so they could pray to receive Muhammad as their savior, passing out hijabs and Sharia pamphlets, and trying to convert our kids. And then you know that I and many folks were going after the district for allowing this to happen. Several students say that they watched the principal looking on as they were doing the proselytization to our students. And that's the same principal for 2 years in a row who wore a hijab on World Hijab Day, saying it was awesome. Principal Tiffany Doolin. And the efforts that all of us did really put the pressure and led to getting all the coverage in Fox News, New York Times, Marco Hunter Lopez going and testifying in front of Congress, going on Glenn Beck, going on Fox News. And now we see, as you know, we had a sweet taste of victory with the principal resigning. It was astounding and wonderful. But now today, one of her, the disgraced former principal at Wylie East High School, Tiffany Dillon, one of her former assistant principals, or one of her assistant principals, presumably that she hired, I don't know, has just been arrested today for trying to, according to police, Wylie police, for trying to pay a girl with alcohol and buy her lingerie to have sex with her. She is still under 18. She just graduated from Wylie East High School, where he's the assistant principal. Well. Did Tiffany Doolin not resign because of the Islamist scandal that she, according to witnesses, allowed to happen? Or did she resign because she knew about stuff and this happened? We don't know. But well. And Wylie ISD has doubled, tripled, quadrupled down and going after Marco Hunter Lopez, his dad, my friend Kyle Katie Sims, me. We call ourselves the Four Musketeers. And Wylie ISD, all they've done is double down, triple down, and attack us for exposing all this. And look who has their pants down. Wylie ISD. Well. We're going to get into all that in just a second. But first, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin's my CPA, and he is amazing. All right? He just is. Almost 10 years. My taxes this year, after my first full year of being on my own with my own small business, is incredible. Randy did amazing for me. So I'm telling you, if you need a tax planner, etc., we'll get into that later. Okay. I have a series of different things in sections because there's so much coverage. I mean, this is like 30 pages of stuff I read through and took notes and culled. So I kind of have it stacked into a certain order of things. First of all, I want to start out with the ridiculous excuses the defense is laying out today in its first full day of, testimony and trial and opening statements in the murder trial, which it'll take about 2 weeks now. It'll be over with within 2 weeks, 35 witnesses. Some of them were on the stand today, 2 or 3 or 4 of them. You'll hear about that in a second. But check this out. The defense is a kind of a local version of a dream team. Toby Shook, former federal prosecutor, is a high-profile criminal defense attorney and has been for years here in North Texas. He says about Karmelo Anthony, the defense is, Toby Shook asked the witness who was on the stand, one of the coaches, if he was aware that Centennial High School did not have a tent at the track meet that day when it was raining. Oh, Karmelo Anthony's team didn't have a tent to go under when it was raining? Oh, so now I understand why he murdered somebody. He needed a tent. He killed so he could be dry. Makes sense to me. What else do I have for you here? Oh, the defense also saying it's uncontroverted that Austin Metcalf made the first physical contact by either punching, grabbing, or shoving Karmelo Anthony. In that split second, the defense said, Anthony has a decision to make on how and when to act. Self-defense, he says, is useless unless you wait till it's too late. And it's true. Can you imagine? The defense has a great point here. Can you imagine if Karmelo Anthony waited until it was too late and Austin Metcalf shoved him a second time? Karmelo Anthony could have fallen back and gotten a bruise. He could have gotten a scrape on his knee. His elbow could have got scraped. He could have got a little tear in his jeans by hitting the pavement. So he had to murder Austin Metcalf. You can't let somebody push you and you fall on the ground and get a scrape or a bruise. You got to kill him. So now the defense is making sense to me. Okay. Obviously, I'm joking. The timing. What was presented today was the cameras around Darrell Kuykendall Stadium. I might be butchering the name of the stadium, but that's not relevant. The cameras around the stadium, and they're not close up. We all know the video is not close up, but they used a Tarrant County law enforcement expert that handles video, or video expert with Tarrant County Sheriff's Department, I believe. And he enhanced stuff and he explained it. Nobody's debating the enhancement of the video. And it's grainy, but you get a picture of how things are going. You don't know all the specifics because it's not close enough, but you get a real picture of what happened. And what's really sad is we also have the timeline for the first time, and it's devastating. This young man, Austin Metcalf, and his brother, Hunter, they walked into that stadium. Austin walked into that stadium, and he was in the stadium for 6 minutes before he was dead. This is a middle-of-the-day track meet for a high school track team against other high school track teams. He walks into a typical track team in a suburban school district, and within 6 minutes, he's dying. I mean, what the hell? And you will see one of the coaches in here, and race has been interjected in this artificially by Karmelo Anthony, because I've told you Karmelo Anthony's defense inside of the courtroom is, I had to do it at self-defense, the legit ways of trying to get out of it. He's not going to get out of this, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But the outside of the courtroom is Karmelo Anthony's family has used this race-baiting, bottom-dweller, poor man's, second-rate Jesse Jackson, Dominique Alexander, the convicted guy who was convicted of beating a black baby boy, and his black baby mama said he beat her, but yet he's a civil rights leader with 10 or 12, rap sheets of felonies and charges, and you can see the many faces of Dominique, all of his mugshots from getting arrested throughout North Texas well over a decade. They picked him to be their race-baiting, bottom-dweller spokesperson to make it all about race outside of the courtroom. Okay? So, going back to the timeline, though, the total A total of 15 minutes and 20 seconds passed from the moment that Austin Metcalf is seen on surveillance video walking into the stadium and to when Karmelo Anthony is being let out in handcuffs. So listen to this. And this is so sad and devastating. Austin walks in. Within 6 minutes, he's lying there dead. Within 15 minutes, Karmelo Anthony's being frog marched out in handcuffs for the murder of Austin Metcalf. Continuing on. Here is where I came up with the phrase, you read all this stuff comes to you. And that's where I really, Karmelo Anthony played a big man's game. What do I mean by that? Karmelo Anthony was going to be a big boy, be a big man. And what he was going to do was, stand up like a big man and, stab somebody when he gets picked on, or he wasn't even getting picked on, but when he stands up for himself and does something stupid and the guys are saying, hey, get out of here, you're not allowed to be under our tent in the track meet. He'll be a big man and play a big man's game by plunging a knife into Austin Metcalf's chest, killing him. And you're going to hear a little bit. He had a gaping wound. His face was purple. It's just horrifying. But here's the child playing a big man's game. So he physically plays a big man's game by plunging the knife into Austin Metcalf's chest and killing him. But Karmelo is a child. Look. When he was arrested, he put his hands on me. That's what he started saying right away, like a little child who you walk in, your 5-year-old or 3-year-old or 6-year-old is caught stealing cookies from the cookie jar. Well, it wasn't my fault. The cookies were there. Somebody else did it, that kind of thing. That's exactly what Karmelo said to the cop as soon as he came to arrest him. Well, he put his hands on me. I stabbed him. What did you do? The coach said, Coach Hooper said, what did you do? Karmelo Anthony said, he put his hands on me. I stabbed him. And then Karmelo Anthony, the coach Hooper said, that this could change Metcalf's entire life as he was holding him down before the cops came. Coach Hooper, holding him down, said this can change your entire life to Karmelo Anthony. And Karmelo Anthony said, he's not going to die. So he's a little man in his head, but he played a big man's game with his actions. And now he's going to pay a big man's price and be convicted for murder and go to jail for up to 99 years. I pray to God he spends all 99 years in for what he did. He wanted to play a big man's game. You got it. Like a little man, like a little boy, he ran off and tried to blend in. Prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney for Collin County, Wyrsky said he's the prosecutor, and he's being hailed as a fantastic prosecutor so far by the experts that are defense attorneys and such that are analyzing the case. Wyrsky says that Anthony ran off and tried to blend in, hide like a little child. Students at the track meet pointed out that Karmelo Anthony, as he was trying to leave the track meet. Students were pointing him out. He was trying to leave, get out, like a little child thinking he could get away with this. An officer who arrived on the scene encountered Karmelo Anthony, and he radioed, I have the alleged suspect, to which Karmelo Anthony said famously, I'm not alleged, I did it. And nobody in this case, the defense or the prosecution, nobody is contesting that he killed Austin Metcalf. Nobody's contesting that he murdered him. They're just contesting, the defense is trying to say that Karmelo Anthony feared. Now, there's like an 80-pound difference and like a 5-inch difference in height between the twin brothers, Austin and his brother, Hunter. And so they're trying to use that because I've told you on this podcast, I learned a lot with self-defense as far as I carry a firearm 99.9% wherever I'm at. And I learned a lot from attorneys who are experts in Texas, for example, where I'm at, of course, in self-defense and legal. How do you do it legally? And if you have somebody who's twice your size coming at you, that can be a mitigating circumstance where it's like, yes, you feared for yourself and your life because there's no way you could handle this guy and he's coming to get you. Or you could be outnumbered by 5-1, or they could have a deadly weapon, all sorts of stuff. And so they're trying to use they're twin brothers and they're 80 pounds heavier each and 5 inches taller. It doesn't matter. When you're pushing somebody and there's a tussle, you don't kill somebody. That's why he's going to lose. And guess what else they're not saying? The defense has no excuse and they're not bringing up any. Why did Karmelo Anthony bring a knife to the track meet? It is against the rules. The athletes specifically sign agreements and statements saying that they agree to not bring any weapons. So this was completely and totally against the rules, against the regulations. There's no excuse, no knives allowed. Karmelo Anthony is one of all the people that signed stuff saying absolutely no weapons. I understand that. And yet he brought a knife. He came looking to be a punk, and he got what he wanted. And now he's going to go to jail for life. I pray. This is a great line from Assistant District Attorney Bill Werski. He said, because I've been telling you this, that Carmelo Anthony provoked the whole thing by sitting in the tent. Austin Metcalf was told by his coach that day, Coach Starr, and again, it was reporting here that he's black. I didn't know that, but because this case is racially charged, Coach Starr, who's black, said that Austin Metcalf had been late to one of their events, and he said to him, he basically kind of like punished him or took him off the team or something like that. And he said, you know what? I'm going to give you another chance. When you come to this track meet, I want you to step up and lead. I'm counting on you, and I think I have the statement I'll read to you. And he basically says that he's counting on him to step up and lead. And Coach Starr is the one who said, and all the coaches that were interviewed, there's 2 or 3 or 4 coaches and trainers, and all of them said yes, that these tents are literally like the locker room for these track teams. No other teams go under them. They're not allowed to. It's not like a written out in ink, but they all of them said, all these different coaches and trainers from different schools under oath today said that yes, it's like their bench, it's like their dugout, it's like their locker room. And so it is not okay to come and sit with another team. And you have the same thing with Coach Starr telling Austin, yeah, you messed up before, I'm going to let you get another chance, but I want you to step up and lead at this event. And one of the things he told him to do was to keep people that don't belong under that tent out of there, because people go into the tents from other schools and they steal. And Austin was doing what his coach had asked him to do. Austin was doing what his coach asked him to step up and do, and he got killed for doing what his coach told him to do. And his coach was not wrong. But I go back, I bet you the coach has some guilt on that. And if he does, it's not a righteous guilt, but it's just the difficulties that happen when these horrible things happen. Let me also give you, I already mentioned this, that the defense never mentioned why Austin Metcalf, why Carmelo Anthony brought a knife. Never mentioned how or why the knife was brought. Well, I mean, silly. Carmelo brought the knife in case somebody wouldn't let them under their tent. You won't let me under your team's tent? Boom. Here's more from Coach Starr. And also, I think I have some of the notes in here that I've saved where one of the other coaches is a combat veteran. And he took his coat off. And he treated Austin Metcalf just like he's seen people be treated in the theater in combat. Coach Starr said that kids have to sign a code of conduct that includes a prohibition on bringing weapons to a school event. Kids bringing weapons to events may happen in some inner-city school districts, but not in Frisco, he said. He said Memorial was hosting the track meet, and he asked several of his upperclassmen to be the leaders. Coach Starr did. He asked them to be the leaders on that day. He said he sent a text to Austin Metcalf to step up and be a leader that day. That hurts, man. That hurts for me to share that because, Coach was asking him to step up. It's beautiful. I'm reading a book. Give me a second. I got to dig it up. I'm reading a book called Lead for God's Sake. One of my dear friends, we went to college together. He's black, from the south side of Chicago. We were both in school together, in college together, in journalism. He was my photographer, and I was the reporter guy. And David is his name. And David and I, on the day O.J. Simpson was acquitted, I was so pissed. Most of us folk, they were pissed. But he was happy because he's a Democrat liberal type from the south side of Chicago, obviously. Shocker, right? And so we were walking back to our dorm that day, and it got so heated in a very friendly way because I love him. I've always loved him. And that I said, we can't keep walking, so we had to separate on the way to the door. It was me. I'm like, I can't do this with you, dude. But David and I have, when I go home to Chicago to visit my family where I'm from, I will visit with David. I had spent several years, and we got to spend time together. He's a photographer at CBS 2 in downtown Chicago there. And we had lunch together and everything. And he has really become close to God and a godly, sweet guy. And he told me to read this book. He said it changed his life. And so I've been reading it. And I'm on page 132. And sometimes I go a week or two, I don't get to read it. I got to bring this with me. I'm going to head out of town in a few days. But it's learning how to coach your children with heart and how to coach the kids with your heart and to lead them with your heart in a godly way. And Coach Starr was doing that with Austin Metcalf. He was leading him in a godly way. He was encouraging him, and he was challenging him. And you know, there's another coach in here who was getting a crock pot for their, you know, like, what do they tent, the concession stand tent. I mean, this is as Americana as it gets. And he's coming over and he's bringing the crock pot, and then he sees what happens, or sees the pandemonium. He drops his crock pot to the ground. He runs, jumps up over the fence, and he rushes. And he's caring dearly for Austin Metcalf. And he takes that shirt off, the jacket off, like from combat, what he saw, and he was treating Austin Metcalf. And what struck me, this might bring me to tears just thinking about it. What struck me is these guys, all these coaches, are just like that coach in that book. Unlike in Wylie ISD, in Wylie East High School, where a principal's trying to have sex with one of the students, these coaches are doing what that coach does. They care for these kids like they're their own. They love them like their own. They challenge them like they're their own. They know they can do it, and they know they fail, but they give them another chance, and they push them like a loving parent. God bless these teachers. God bless these coaches. And I'm going to continue reading the story here. So, Starr testified that kids have to sign a code of conduct in prohibition on, including a prohibition on weapons to a school event. Kids bringing weapons may happen in some inner city school districts, but he says Memorial, hosting the track meet, asked his people to be leaders. Several of his people, including Austin, he texted him to step up and be a leader that day. And part of that thing was saying, keep him out of the tent. You're the leader. The coach said he approached Karmelo Anthony after the stabbing. He was walking very calmly and asked him, what the hell did you do? One of the coaches says. He said, he put his hands on me like a child, caught with his hand in the cookie jar, making excuses, which shows how guilty he is. He wouldn't say, like, well, this happened. He'd go, he put his hands on me. In other words, I'm as guilty as all get out. We all know it. The coach told jurors that he threw his hat, he put his hands in the air as he was overcome by frustration and emotion. The coach identifies Karmelo Anthony in the courtroom, saying he looks different now. Quote, he's clean cut today. Now, this coach, this is specifically mentioned in this story. I think this might be the Dallas Morning News. They say Coach Starr, who was black, said about Karmelo Anthony, he's clean cut today. What does that tell you? It's very interesting. Now he wants you to make himself look studious and awesome. But then, who was he? Coach Starr, who was black, testified he threatened to kick Austin Metcalf off the track team. This is where I think Coach Starr might have some guilt. I hope he doesn't. He's an amazing, loving coach, from what I read here. Coach Starr testified he threatened to kick Austin Metcalf off the track team because he decided to go fishing and leave early from a school event. Starr said he let him back on the team for this district meet because he was a captain of the football team and he wanted him to learn a lesson. This is the parenting, the beautiful parenting that many of us just don't see. God bless this coach. He said to Austin Metcalf before he would be killed, be a leader. I'm going to lean on my older guys. For sure, coach. I got you, Austin Metcalf texted back. The day after the stabbing, the coach said he texted Metcalf's phone, knowing he was dead. Even though he knew the young man was gone, he texted him. This is so sweet. Love you, man. Sorry I didn't say enough. He cried in court as he read the words aloud. That was today. So, that's just terrible, right? Karmelo Anthony was taunting Austin Metcalf before he murdered him. Criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor who is not involved in this case but was giving expert thoughts to the Dallas Morning News said, Texas self-defense laws, listen closely, this is why I've been telling you since this whole thing happened, that Karmelo Anthony is going to jail for murder. Texas self-defense laws do not protect somebody who provokes a person before the deadly encounter. That's exactly what he said. He said, touch me and see what happens. He provoked this and then stabbed and murdered the guy that he provoked. That is not self-defense. It's not stand your ground. It's not fear for imminent but great bodily injury or harm or death. If the juror thinks, this criminal defense attorney says, if a juror thinks that the defendant went way beyond what was necessary, either because they were angry, felt slighted, sound familiar, they were trying to get revenge, for whatever reason, that's not self-defense, and that's what I've been telling you about this case since day one. Self-defense is protecting yourself to the extent necessary based on the threat. And the worst threat that Karmelo Anthony could have gotten was be shoved on the ground or punched. A boo-boo, a bruise, a scrape. And he killed somebody over it because he taunted them, he baited them. Metcalf took the bait by pushing or punching him, and then he got killed for it. This was no self-defense case. This was prodding him and then killing him when he did what you prodded him to do. Also, one of the defense's toughest challenge is for use of deadly force, and this is such a joke, I can't even say this with a straight face, is the use of deadly force. Was it proportional? Yeah, you push me or punch me, doesn't matter, whether you push, shove, or punch, and I kill you for it. That's totally proportional. Let's see, punch or push versus kill. No. And the attorney said that's a real uphill battle, to which I wrote, lol. Now, the Daily Mail was given exclusive access to the entire footage of the event in that blown-up video. And guess what the Daily Mail said? It's not good for Karmelo either from what they see. The Daily Mail says the footage reviewed by the Daily Mail at the Frisco Independent School District's headquarters show no obvious signs of physical confrontation. No obvious signs of physical confrontation from afar zoomed in. What does that tell you? Somebody was killed over no obvious physical confrontation. Murdered for very little. Now, I'm going to do something, and I don't want to per se, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to show you. And first of all, there are idiots outside of the Karmelo Anthony trial today, and there will be every day. And I don't try to play equal opportunity offender. I don't try to play DEI games. I don't care if who I'm going after is black or white, liberal or Republican. But I also have to tell the truth when the truth is, and every one of these people out there protesting for either side, these are freaking idiots. These are idiot morons. You will not catch me going there. I will not be going there to cover anything, to witness anything. There's nothing good to stand out there with these absolute idiot fools. There's some lunatic racist people out there, and actually, honestly, on both sides. Now, I'm going to play you one. My chair's sliding around too much. I'm going to play you one from, this happens to be a black guy who, supports Karmelo Anthony, and he's saying some just vile, hateful things. But I want you to know the same thing's being done on the other side. And I'm not doing this for DEI purposes. I'm not like that, and you know that. But it's just to show you the sick people, broken. I know broken's not a good word, but sick. I don't want to say evil, but pretty much evil. They've allowed hatred and animus to take them over to the point they say vile things about other people and their race. But again, both sides are morons. You will not see me out there. I would not be going there to be an independent journalist or cover anything. This is for idiots out there, or people who want to say dumb things or hang out with people that are lunatics on both sides. I'll show you one clip, and this is not to say it's only black people being lunatic crazies, but watch this idiot. It's a case study of how sick people are that are showing up at this thing. Watch.
Get my face on camera. We kill crackers. Where I come from, we kill them. And if I ever see you outside of Texas, you gonna have a problem. Yup. I'm gonna wrap you up in that flag and I'm gonna set it on fire. I like the smell of burning flesh, don't you?
First of all, does this idiot have a job? Does this idiot have a job? What kind of a loser either doesn't have a job or takes time off to go say stupid things? This guy's an idiot. He's a loser. He's unemployed, or some crazy guy that's going to be the dude shooting everybody up at the office. But he's filled with animus, hatred, and just wicked bile. But what sort of sick people? I'll show you. There's a little bit more that we're going to move on. But just to show you the sick, dumb, crazy people that are out there.
Don't you? Don't you? See, the time of you having fear on us is over, cracker. It's over, cracker. We ain't scared of you. We gonna do some Nat Turner shit on you, motherfucker.
And who is this idiot with the baby? Is he like approving this, just sitting there? Or is he like, this guy's a lunatic, I don't know why I'm in between them? What's wrong with people, right? Here you go. All right, that's it. Okay, anyways, and I'm not doing that to show that there's only black people that are crazy, wicked, and evil. There's both sides that are like that there. So that's why you won't see me there, and that's why there's nothing good to go out there and do. If I could go into the courtroom, would I go in? Yes. But I'm going to be talking to my friend Rebecca Lopez, who is the best crime reporter in all of Dallas-Fort Worth, and she's been a crime reporter for 40 years. She spent 40 minutes with me on my podcast a couple of weeks back or so when in the death penalty case for the murder of Athena Strand. And thank you, God, that we put him in the frickin' ground. He's not dead yet, but we're going to put that son of a bleep in the ground for what he did to little Athena Strand. And she was her 40 minutes on my podcast was absolutely riveting. She witnessed every single day of that trial, but one day. And she was in that trial when that video and audio was being played of when he kidnapped Athena, when he violated her sexually, and when he kept trying to kill her every 10 minutes, pulling over and stomping on her, strangulating her, vile, and hearing her gurgling and stuff, and then she'd come back to life repeatedly. So she is an incredible reporter, and she'll be telling us the intimate details in that courtroom. I'll get her on like on the day of the verdict, right around that time. We'll have her on again. She's incredible. This show, and by the way, coming up next, I want to tell you this. Wylie East. Well. Here's Marco Lopez. There's my man, Marcos Lopez. Thank you, brother. He says I'm a true journalist. I appreciate that. Well, Marcos Lopez, the father of Marco Hunter Lopez. Well, my reaction for Wylie East today, the assistant principal, and my questions are manifold. Did Tiffany Doolin hire him? Did Tiffany Doolin resign and disgrace the disgraced former principal of Wylie East High School not because of the Islamists that she was overlooking, according to multiple students, passing out Qurans, hijabs, and Sharia pamphlets, but did she resign because she knew this was coming? Well, Tiffany Doolin. Well. And didn't I tell you the Star Telegram has been coming up with these out of nowhere? They have done nothing on this Tiffany Doolin Islam thing. And all of a sudden, over the past couple of weeks, every other day they're having a story. They're getting exclusive stuff. So first of all, where have you been since February? Second of all, what are you doing? It's like, who's feeding you this stuff? And third of all, we already won, so whatever. But so this comes out today. I'm going to get into the assistant principal who was under Tiffany Doolin. And well, he's arrested for trying to bed down with a student, a minor student. And did Tiffany Doolin, the disgraced former principal of Wylie East, resign because she knew this was coming? Did she have something tied in with all this? Or was it just because of what she did with the Student Republican Club for Marco Hunter Lopez and Why Islam and the Islamists? We're going to get into that next. But first, the show is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com. Helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Here's a picture of me, Randy, George, and Ray about almost 10 years ago. And Randy's been my CPA and tax planner since then. These guys are my friends. They are all my friends. When I go in there, and this is not prompted or pushed, we hug because I love these guys. These are all great Christian men. And Randy and I went in the same Sunday school class at First Dallas before he became one of my sponsors about 10 years ago. But this was my first year, this past year, 2025, of being solo, a small business owner. Randy took care of me for tax planning, and I was blown away with amazing news just the other day. That's how amazing they are. If you have tax problems, if you have a loved one who's passed away and there's tax issues with that, if you have issues with taxes with your company, or if you just want a good tax planner, go to IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Call 214-214-3000. That's 214-214-3000, or tell them Chris Crock sent you. And look what I'm sporting today. This is my Due West Foundation and Plumbing shirt. Couple of things. Due West Foundation and Plumbing is owned by Jim Dutton. Jim Dutton is the host of Texas Home Improvement in Dallas, Houston, and Austin on the radio and television. Jim hosts that show. I became good friends with him. My wife worked at Due West Foundation and Plumbing for 3 years. They've done everything. Before I even moved into this house, they inspected the foundation, and they tested the plumbing, static test. And I did nothing until they said. And since then, they've replaced my water heater. They've replaced 17 feet of pipe under my house, which requires foundation work too, because when they dig all that dirt out, it's not going to be put back compact. They did root shields around my house so that the roots aren't going under the foundation. They have done amazing work. I love them. They do concrete leveling, retention walls, foundation, plumbing, everything. You have a plumber and a foundation company. Do not use anybody else, and I mean that. Go to do-west.com. That's du-west.com. Or call 972-406-0912, 972-406-0912, and tell them Chris Croc sent you. By the way, I spent more time yesterday and today with my friend John Hopkins from BlueRibbonDFW.com. I'm going to tell you about him, but I want to say something that made me giddy. I was filling in for my friend Mark Davis Monday through Thursday all week on 660 The Answer here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And Mike Gallagher is a friend of mine too. Mike's syndicated with Salem, and he's a great guy. And he endorses Blue Ribbon Roofing too. And so every time I was hosting and the Blue Ribbon DFW commercial from him was coming on, I would come on and say, I also have, they're doing my roof actually. All right. We'll get into that later. Okay. Well. Wylie East High School. And since we have Marcos Lopez, the father of Marco Hunter Lopez, watching, and he can comment, and you can comment by watching on YouTube or Rumble, and I will see it in real time and respond. But I could not believe this. The news today coming out that there are, first of all, and Marcos will correct me if I'm wrong, there are 6 assistant principals in Wylie East High School. There is 1 principal. The 1 principal is Tiffany Doolan at the time. She's the one who, according to multiple students, overlooked and watched these professional Islamic proselytizers passing out Qurans, hijabs, and Sharia pamphlets and having a booth with Islam in the middle of the school day to a captive audience of students trying to convert them to Islam. And there was Tiffany Doolan, the students say, overlooking it, trying to convert our children to worship Muhammad and Allah, as it were, right? So today we find out that an assistant principal, and from what I'm learning and all my reading, and I talked to Marco and Marcos and our friend Kyle Katie Sims as well, with the Four Musketeers. Thank you very much. This is the assistant principal who was constantly going after Marco to try to stop the Republican club, stymieing it, intimidating him. Tiffany Doolan was just as bad. And then the Why Islam thing happened. So you have a young man who's trying to start a Republican club for 2-3 years or whatever, how long it was. And they're absolutely going after him, intimidating him, bullying him. And here comes Don Williams, 56, 58. Freet work. I think you mean great work. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know what you're saying there. Freet work? Great work, maybe? Misspelling? Go ahead and repeat yourself. I'll see it. But anyways, Marco is being intimidated and bullied. They're not letting him have a Republican club, young Republican club. When he goes out of town, when they finally force the approval of the Republican club after years of pushing, the principals tear down his Republican club posters. They're harassed. The Muslim Student Association is worshipped, if you will. The Democrat liberal clubs. Oh yeah, great work. He meant great work. Thank you very much, Don. And he. So they're bullying him, pushing him around, and the Why Islam thing happens. And then Kyle Katie Sims was already working with Marco and Marcos to expose this, to stop this. I come in after the Why Islam thing, and I speak. We start becoming friends. We start working together and cross-pollinating, and I'm honored that they let me join them in this fight. And so after months of coming together, more and more people growing up steam, pushing, getting in front of Congress for Marco getting in front of to testify, whooping Jamie Raskin's ass in the testimony, going on Fox News, Will Cain, going on Glenn Beck. And then Monday night, the school board meeting, speaking out, we're all there. And then Tuesday morning, we do our Bibles, not Qurans, passing out like 300 Bibles that are all given away to students, that bring them in, pass them out to other students. Bibles were everywhere, said Marco. It was incredible, and it was all God. And so then, within a week, and Fox News covered it, New York Post covered it, we got Maximum Pressure, Dallas Express covered it, WFA TV Channel 8 covered it, and all Wylie ISD did was double down, triple down, attack us. We're the bad guys, we're the problem. And then all of a sudden, Tiffany Doolan resigns. She is now disgraced former principal Tiffany Doolan. Then these articles start popping up in the Star Telegram. I'm like, what the hell's the Star Telegram doing? Wiley's over here, Star Telegram's over there. What are you guys doing? Who is this that's... And they gave all these Wylie ISD or Principal Tiffany Doolan, disgraced former principal, are feeding these voicemails about how people are terrorizing her and saying death threats and stuff. I'm not denying it happened. I have no freaking idea. But I'm like, why is this coming out now? What is this all about? And then all of a sudden, well, today, the assistant principal under Tiffany Doolan is arrested for, and I'm going to just say it without reading the specifics, I might be a little off here, but he's arrested for trying to have sex with a minor. She just graduated, but she's not 18 yet. He's trying to have sex with her. He's sending her whatever messages or calling her, according to the police, saying, I will buy you alcohol. I will pay for your lingerie if you will have sex with me. Something to that effect. He's cuffed and stuffed. He lives in Richardson. And so I'm going to ask some questions. And I'm curious, since my friend Marcos is in our chat room here watching and talking, because I'm going to ask some questions. He was promoted, this assistant principal, Zachary New of Richardson. He was allegedly offering an underage student alcohol and lingerie in exchange for sex. And so my questions that I will ask aloud now, is this why Tiffany Doolan resigned? Could it be she resigned because she hired, I don't know if she hired this guy. Did she hire this guy? She's in charge. The principals run the school. Did she hire this guy? Did she know this was going on? Did she cover it up? I wonder why. And why is Wylie ISD going after me, Marcos, Kyle, Katie Sims, and people who speak out against the Islamism and the bullying and trying to stop the Republican Club? Why are they going after that while child sex predators are being arrested in the principal hierarchy trying to diddle our children? Well, Wylie ISD, you're coming for us while you got your pants down with some guy trying to diddle one of our daughters. Well, Wylie ISD. Well, Wylie ISD. Great job, you guys. Great job. Go after Croc, Marcos, Kyle, and all the people speaking out while this guy's trying to diddle a school student. Well, Wylie ISD. Look at you. You, Wylie ISD. You, Wylie School Board. You've been caught with your pants down. That's who's been caught with their pants down. Too busy trying to come after us while you got a guy doing that and you got a principal with that going on. What's going on? So I'll ask some more questions. And Marcos, if you want to chime in on your thoughts or whatever, please let me know. But he was promoted to be Dean of Students by July 2024. By whom, I ask? Did disgraced ex-principal, former principal Tiffany Doolan promote him? Mayhaps was she, buddy with him, and did she know this was going on and cover it up? Is that why she resigned? He had served as an assistant principal since January of 2026. Well. And remember, if you're an Islamist, you can get in there. If you're trying to diddle a student, you can get away with it to a certain point. But meanwhile, we're the bad guys. Remember that. Under no circumstances should a district employee engage in private communication with a student through personal social media or other unofficial channels. Superintendent Spicer said she's complicit in all this as far as I'm concerned. Electronic communication between students and staff should occur only through official district platforms. I have a caveat. Unless you're James Tallarico. If you're James Tallarico, you can text and call and invite students publicly on social media. Call me, text me after hours for whatever you need. If you're James Tallarico, you can do this. But no one else. Just, if you're Muslim, you can do stuff like that too. Got it? Okay. On my next bevy of notes, this one from Texas Scorecard, I'll read some of the notes again, but is this why Tiffany Doolan resigned? Did she know this was coming? Did she hire this guy? Was she trying to protect him? We don't know. There are no known additional victims at this time, says the school district. Wait, there is another victim. There's another victim. The real victim in all this is Tiffany Doolan. Right? The real victim in all this is Tiffany. She's still the real victim, guys. She is still the real victim. He had worked for Wylie ISD for 9 years, since the 2017-2018 school year. Hey, Tiffany Doolan, did you hire this guy? Is that why he resigned? I'd like to know. Amy Meck, journalist and exposer of Islamists all over the world and the country. Amy Meck writing about this, a lengthy piece. I'm just going to read two things she said, which are absolutely so spot on. Marco Hunter Lopez carried all of this to the United States Congress, testified under oath. The principal was removed, and instead of apologizing to Marco or making a single thing right, the institution itself made itself out to be the victim, she says, and she's exactly right. The real victim is Tiffany Doolin. The real victim is Wylie ISD. The real perpetrator, never mind that assistant principal, we are the bad guys. Got it? Got it. The Islamists, no problem. And the principal, Mech writes, who oversaw him, this guy arrested for trying to have sex with one of the students, Tiffany Doolin. She oversaw him. Disgraced former principal Tiffany Doolin. Maybe you resigned because of this, not because of us. Who knows? But we're glad you're gone. Tiffany Doolin never took an ounce of responsibility for how Marco was treated. Instead, the school recast her as the victim, says Mech. Spot on, Amy Mech. I want to tell you about Graham Plattner. There's a new video that came out tonight of him on MS Now, which used to be MSNBC. And even MSNBC is asking him the questions that are, like, hard for him to answer. They're bad questions for him. And there's more revelations that have come out tonight. I want to tell you about that next. About the gravelly guy who talks like this and all. This guy's freaking crazy. And he does abuse women. You'll hear about it in a second. Physically. But first, so my friend John Hopkins owns Blue Ribbon Roofing. John on the right, Tish on the left. I talked to John and Tish today and yesterday. John was over for a couple hours. We have all the contracts signed to do my roof. On the far left is Trevor. That's their son. And then Jenna is Trevor's wife. It's a family affair. There they are winning Best of McKinney for the third, fourth, or fifth year in a row. They are A++, whatever, A+ business, Better Business Bureau. The reviews on Google and the other ones, there's like hundreds and hundreds of reviews, and they're 5 stars. They are that freaking good. They already came over to my house today. Before the roof's going to be done, we got to wait for the insurance check and everything. But they already did some work on my house, and it is freaking incredible. I'm serious. I'll show you some pictures. I'll get the pictures out. But the other thing is, my decking was not up to code. My last roofer from 7-8 years ago did not take care of that, and so it's kind of mushy on my deck. John got it covered by my insurance. It's thicker, and he gets radiant barrier in there for free underneath the. So I'm rocking and rolling. They're the best. If it's been 8 years on your roof, don't wait till it's 8 years. A lot of companies, not mine, I do USAA, and John does a ton of USAA, and they're the best. That tells you a lot about how good this company is. Blue Ribbon Roofing. But a lot of these companies, if your roof is 8 years old or older and it's time for replacement and they see that it's replaced, they will not give you the full value. They will give you like the actual cash value versus the real cash value. There's 2 terms. The point being is, get him on your roof at 7 years or earlier just to see if there's any damage and if you qualify. Because if you wait till 8, you might be paying a lot more than you think for the roof, regardless of your deductible. They've been in business for 32 years. They use the absolute best. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Go to blueribbondfw.com, blueribbondfw.com, and they are the best, and they're doing my roof shortly, and they're just incredible. All right, blueribbondfw.com, blueribbondfw.com. Okay, Graham Plattner. Let's watch this video from tonight because he was on MS Now because he's screwed. The allegations that have come out tonight, I'll give you the short Cliff's Notes. I've got some more details that's even worse. But the short Cliff's Notes, he knew the tattoo was a Nazi symbol. He called it, this came out today, he called the Nazi tattoo my Totenkopf, meaning this is my Nazi tattoo, meaning he totally knew it, and he was endeared to it, and he called it his little, kind of his little pet. The unit that he picked is SS Death Squad on purpose because they were, quote, killers, he said. These are from his former girlfriends and such. He joked about it being a Nazi tattoo while dating, as one of his ex-girlfriends said that he said it was a Nazi tattoo. He knew it was, and so he's lying saying he didn't. 3 of his exes say he's toxic, demeaning, heavily drinking, and cheating. New York Times story delayed, that just came out tonight, by his own lawyers. His ex blocked her. He blocked his ex from leaving rooms. He put her arm behind her back and twisted her arm. He had uncontrollable fits of anger. One woman said collateral damage to the world that is his. I am collateral damage to the world that is his. That is who he is. He's a megalomaniac. I've told you this for weeks. And a megalomaniac where it's all about him. That's why he has to tear Chris Kyle and his numbers down and say, oh, he's a hero, but Chris Kyle's bad. By tearing Chris down, he lifts himself up. He called exes He called his exes to vouch for him before the story dropped. That's funny. He's obsessed with rape. I'll read that about you. He bruised a woman. But and there's more details I'm going to share with you that are really frightening. But first, I want to show you he went on MS Now, which is MSNBC, what it used to be called, trying to defend himself, and even MSNBC takes him to school. Watch this.
Is, again, totally false.
I do want to follow up one place on this, and I don't want to get too forensic, but the Times basically reported that they saw texts of hers, including a text in August, I believe August 3rd of last year. This would be before October of last year, in which she basically said that you had a, quote, Nazi tattoo, and she joked about how she's going to go volunteer for Collins. Now, again, this is a text that got sent, so, we can place the time, right? This is in August. How does she know it's a Nazi tattoo in August of last year, and you don't know it's a Nazi tattoo in August of last year?
Well, she certainly didn't send that text to me. So whoever she sent it to and was talking to, I can't say why, but I will say that I certainly didn't know. And the text messages she's sending to friends who may have recognized it, they didn't tell me that. So,
isn't that great? So his girlfriend knew it was a Nazi tattoo, but he didn't. How did she know? Because he told her. You think some average chick is going to know what a Nazi tattoo is? No. I didn't know that was a Nazi tattoo until they showed it and said what it was. Here's some of the more details. Before I forget, quick sidebar. Spencer Pratt is going to be in the runoff with Karen Bass. Spencer Pratt in a runoff with Karen Bass for 5 months will beat her. The last time a mayor of Los Angeles was forced into a runoff, it was, I think, in the 90s. It was in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember, somewhere on there. And that guy, I can't remember his name, but I heard this on Fox or something. The last time a mayor was forced into a runoff, they lost. Mayors, when they're forced into a runoff in L.A., lose. And Spencer Pratt versus, what's her name? I said her name already, a lunatic. Karen Bass. She cannot handle him. She doesn't know how to handle him, and she can't. She freaks out about this guy. She doesn't know what to do, and he whoops her ass. And he's gonna have 5 months of showing everything that's wrong with her. It's gonna be a referendum on her, and he will win. That's my prediction. Let's go back to Graham Plattner. Here's the allegation that came up in the New York Times tonight. One woman dated Plattner between 2013 and 2015. He said, quote, he said this a lot: if anybody ever broke in here, I would rape them. He once handled an argument between them by twisting her arm behind her back, shoved her into a bedroom, and held the door closed from the other side so she couldn't get out. He would sometimes refer to his Nazi tattoo as, quote, my Totenkopf. Jewish Insider previously reported that a former acquaintance described him using that term, my Totenkopf. Plattner campaign did not deny making those remarks to her. At least 2 other women said he would engage in patterns of heavy drinking and womanizing. One woman said his behavior is reckless and unsettling during the relationship between 2019 and 2021. Also, Plattner explained that he and other members of his military unit chose the Totenkopf tattoo, and these are witnesses saying this is what he said. He and his members said that they of his unit chose it because of parallels between them and the Schutzstaffel, if I'm pronouncing that right, Schutzstaffel, in that, quote, they were a death unit, killers, which appears to contradict his narrative that he did not know the tattoo was associated with the Nazi emblem. A girlfriend also recalled he would sharpen an axe while watching TV and ruminate about raping home invaders. Quote, he said this a lot: if anybody ever broke in here, I would rape them. Not the gay way or sexual way, he would say, quote, she says, adding that he said he would instead impose dominance over them through penetration, and that he believed rape was about power. This is a sick dude. You don't need me to tell you that. She also described a public encounter where Plattner purportedly pulled her out of a taxi by her wrist during an altercation. Besides the rape visualizations, Plattner would, quote, fantasize about killing people he deemed a threat. In addition to the axe, Plattner kept an AR-15 in his Capitol Hill home because he was a student at Georgetown. The firearm is currently prohibited in the District of Columbia, so gun laws don't apply to him also. Some of Plattner's controversial, he wants to take away our guns, but they're okay for him. That's a perfect Democrat, socialist, liberal. Some of Plattner's controversial Reddit posts hardened her view that he has issues with women. Quote, I recognized a version of him that I had experiences with from those posts. Another Maine Democrat woman says he would at times drink heavily and that her role in the relationship seemed like collateral damage to the world that is his. In other words, it's all about him. I'm just collateral damage in his world. I'm orbiting around him, and he's at the center of everything no matter what, and I'm just collateral damage. That jives with him being what I call, and have called for weeks, a megalomaniac. Here we go. Some fun. You know, I'm Chicago born and raised. And I fill in Chicago, and I have since separating with my previous job, which is awesome to fill in my hometown. And the day that the Bears were saying they were looking at going into Indiana, Fox 32, the equivalent of Fox 4 here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Fox 32 in Chicago, WFLD, did a ride-along with the mayor of Gary, Indiana. Now, if you've ever heard of Gary, Indiana, yeah, it's like Michael Jackson's boyhood home, and I think Arnold was Arnold from Different Strokes, Gary Coleman, who's now deceased, of course, as well as Michael. If you know anything about Gary, Indiana, like I did growing up in Chicagoland, which is on the other side of the border, Gary, Indiana is a hellhole, and all that happens there is people get shot. It's thug land. And the mayor of Gary, Indiana, was driving around in a car with Fox 32 saying about all this. He's going to have all this stuff here. The Bears are not going to Gary, Indiana, unless you don't mind getting shot and ducking and covering as you're parking your car and bullet holes and your car's getting broken into. Now, Hammond, Indiana, which I'm familiar with the name Hammond, Indiana, because when you see the car dealer at the car ads, here you see your North Texas Chevy dealers. There it's your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana dealerships. So Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana are part of the same metropolitan and media market. And so Hammond, Indiana is in that area. And so the Bears are now making it clear, as recently as the other day in Orlando for an NFL team meetup, they are leaving the city of Chicago. They're leaving Soldier Field. And they are going to either Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is where my uncle lives and where I used to live right by there growing up in that area, or Hammond, Indiana. And I was listening to Governor Mike Braun in Indiana. I'll be filling in Indianapolis in a few weeks. And I was listening to Governor Braun there, and he has this is dead serious. And at the moment that he said they wanted to make sure that they weren't being used, Indiana, or as a East Coaster would say, Indiana, wasn't being used as leverage to just get the Bears a better deal in Illinois. Once they determined that they're serious, then they went all out. And the legislature in Illinois has done nothing. It's a disgrace. They're all leftist, crazed, lunatic Democrats like Pritzker and Brandon Johnson. But once they knew they were serious, then they passed stuff for Indiana. They're going way beyond to the mat to get this. So my thinking earlier on, though, being a Chicagoland guy, let's just do a map. Let's say the lake is, trying to do this right. The lake is, let's say the lake is here, right? So here's Indiana. Lake Michigan's like this. Indiana, Chicago on a lake, right? So my thing was this. If this is the lake, and Indiana's here, and Chicagoland is right here, I'm from this area, and this area. Why would you want to go from the north, from the lake all the way north to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and around here, drive all the way down to Indiana? However, a good friend of mine, one of my mentors when I was young, a beloved guy that I reconnected with recently, we talked for a little while. We reconnected, and he said that he did the Google or whatever, the MapQuest or whatever, and actually, I thought it would be an extra hour, so you'd be going like 2 hours to go to a Bears game, and 2 hours back. That's half the Chicagoland area wouldn't go. Actually, he said he did the MapQuest or whatever, and the route would be, you wouldn't go directly through downtown. It would be a certain. Actually, it would be negligible. So it would work. So they're screwed, and if they're smart, they'll go to Arlington Heights. But if the state legislature won't do what they need to do, Arlington Heights is where the Arlington racetrack used to be. World-class, horse racing track. Anyways, watch that go down. Mayor Brandon Johnson, the just socialist fool, to say it nicely, he admitted on a sports station in Chicago today that he would leave Bears games early because traffic getting out of Soldier Field is so bad. And he even missed a Bears-Packers game that switched and the Bears won the game, he admitted to. So even he, like a fool, is admitting how bad it is there at Soldier Field. And that even he won't wait. When I went to the Stones concert with my parents on the last Stones tour, we got one more in. My parents are getting older. And it was our third time going to Soldier Field and seeing the Stones. It was awesome. And we were leaving, and it was disgraceful. I mean, I swear to you, going out of the stadium area, the parking area there, and then going parallel to the highway for, I don't know what, a half mile, and then you can finally merge and come around and get on the highway and go wherever you're going. It was like an hour just to get like 2 miles. It was like an hour. It was unbelievable. It's ridiculous. So anyways, I think they're in some big trouble. This show has been brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Use my guy, Randy Martin. I will see you soon. And what is the deal with Wylie ISD? Congratulations, Wylie ISD.